Welcome to the Untrapped Podcast, where we're motivated and inspired about success, small business, and personal development. And now, Keith Kalfas.
Live. Okay, we're live. What's up? We're live on the Untrapped Podcast. We have special guest Ryan Kettering from Prolific Brand Design. And I want to talk about, well, I want him to talk about, have you ever considered doing an entire rebrand, a relaunch and rebrand of your service business? Ryan specializes in, well, he has a whole freaking company that does this. He has rebranded and branded service industry businesses that have gone on to become national businesses. Like this, his company, his team. It's a big deal. Like I've actually hired Ryan to help me with stuff with my business, a launch that we did. Brandon Vaughn, the founder of Wise Coatings, who has 50 locations. They have these beautiful vinyl wrapped vans. They've been on channels like Upflip YouTube channel. If you've seen their, just go look it up. It's like they have this iconic looking brand. He consulted with Ryan Kettering when he went to launch his brand to find out what should everything look like and how should they vinyl wrap everything and what Ryan and his team came up with was freaking just brilliantly beautiful. So when you see companies with these brands go by that are just service businesses, you're like, wow, like who did that? It's Ryan Kettering from Prolific Brand Design. I'm so excited that you're on the Untrapped Podcast. I've known you since 2016, brother. What's up, man?
Long time. Not much, man. How you doing? I'm doing well. Good to see you.
I was trying to communicate for the first time for people that are meeting you, so they kind of get it, who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Can you go through that, man, and break it down?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I did this. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. Before this, I had a home service business myself, and so that's kind of how I got into this. We started out as doing more marketing stuff, but really, I found that my calling was in branding, and more specifically like in identity, like helping people to understand not only who they are, but how to leverage the things that make them into ways to identify, resonate in the market, to communicate in ways that are compelling and interesting. You know, we all want to be talked about, like we want our businesses to be talked about, but then why aren't we doing things worth talking about, right? And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but a lot of times we don't have the right questions. We're out there looking for answers. We're looking for, what should I do? What's the next this? What should I say? Instead of saying like, hey, what's the thing I'm trying to do? And what's the best way to get there? If you want people to talk about you, do things worth talking about. A lot of times I see people do this in marketing, right? They'll be sitting behind a computer for hours and days writing an algorithm to talk to a guy across the street when you can walk across the street and talk to that guy, So it's like sometimes we go things the long way because we're looking for answers, like it's a diamond, in the rough, instead of sitting down and really figuring out, like you said, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What do we stand for? All these sorts of things. And so, yeah, I think I have a unique perspective being from the home service business, but it's all kind of started because, what can I tell? So you want me to tell kind of how we talked a little bit before the podcast about like kind of the passion, like the reason that I'm interested in this. You want me to
Yeah. I mean, thousands of service businesses, window washers, landscapers, pressure washing companies, gutter cleaning companies, HVAC, plumbers, all these people have consulted you to rebrand their whole business and come up with this whole company image to take their brand from like some generic looking basic to now being this like national looking high level brand, to upscale the entire identity. And they're consulting you. So like, and you've done this for real. I mean, talk about it. How did you get
I guess you could say it's getting serious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so when people come to us, they're usually coming to us for one or two reasons. Like one is they want to make more money. And so they're having problems with like, my marketing's not working the way I want, like I'm overspending, whatever I'm trying to, for other people, they're trying to do something more meaningful. And I could speak to both of that, and I think, and you can accomplish both of those, by the way, with what branding is. But to me, the thing I'm most passionate about is trying to build companies worth something that are meaningful in the market, so that we can attract the right team members to then do stuff that attracts the right clients. And I think, if you just want to communicate a little bit better, you can always just spend a little bit more money, but you can never spend enough money to say the right thing, like the thing that's really yours. You know what I mean? Like, you can't spend enough to have somebody actually display you on the market. You can only be you. So I like to, yes, we can get things communicating better. You can make things clearer. You can make fonts clearer. You can make colors that stick out more, and make stylings that, that are, feel a certain way, but ultimately in service to what? And so I like to start with, who are you first, before I try to figure out how to represent someone. And I find that creates a lot of people, they see our portfolio and they feel like they comment on the variety, like, wow, this one's more masculine and aggressive. This one's more feminine. This one's more clean and simple. And the reason for that variety is we have a variety of people we work with. And they're all in the similar space, but they are much different from one another. And so if you want to build something that represents you, like a company, like a logo, like a name, like a way of doing business, you probably should figure out who you are first. And then you can simply apply that who you are to how you do things and what you do, and you will have a good representation of who you are in the market.
So if somebody wants to say, hey, I want to rebrand my business, I want a new logo, I want specific colors that my business uses everywhere, physically, like out in the field, on the van, the shirts, the hats, everything on social media. This is the font that I want, the tones. You're saying, before even going to say, let's rebrand my business, there's a deeper subset of questions that have to be asked to find out what is your what.
Well, many people have seen the talk from Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And they were like, okay, I have the what and I have the how I do it. And then, like, what's my why? Oh, my why. It's my family. My family's my why. Okay, check, done. I'm ready to go out in the world. Well, your family's not a why, your family's a who. And I don't know if, I don't want to sound harsh here, but there's a lot of who's people in the world that you're serving, a lot more than your family. If it was just your family, you'd sit at home, I don't know, like growing carrots in your backyard with like chickens and stuff. You just stay home with your family, and then that's it. But there's actually a lot of people that you want to serve in the world, probably. And your family are the most important of those people, but they're not the reason that you do things. They are a set of people that you serve from that reason. And so your why is typically some sort of idea, belief that drives everything you do. And you can see it in the evidence of everything, but it's not until you start to kind of search for those commonalities. All right, a lot of people, they have core values, for instance, but they don't realize that your core values are a tool set to live out a single belief. So what's the single belief? And so you have these core values that many times feel dead and they don't really work. And the reason why is because you don't know what they're pointing to, right? They're disconnected. They're just a bunch of things that everybody thinks integrity is important. Everybody thinks that, getting it done right the first time. Everybody thinks all the stuff that we all think is important and good. But what's your stuff that says how to be this person, right? So once you understand what you're trying to say, then you can explain how to say it, how to be it, how to act it. And that can drive a lot of different things. Tesla, for instance, which might not be the right example to use this time of political climate, but Tesla they were the first company in 120 years to go full production in the auto manufacturing business. And they did it without a marketing budget. They had a $0 marketing budget. And they did it because they doubled down on who they are. And so that led them to doing things different. They gave their patents away to their competitors. Who does that? People want to die with their patents still clenched in their fists, right? So why did they do that? Because it's who they are. And what we many times do is we will take on the identity of our gurus, what we believe, an identity we've shaped based on what we believe the market wants and will pay for, an idea of and so we take on other people's identity, and that creates a set of actions and a a set of, that represent us, but it's not our identity, And so we want to get back to who are you at your best, at your truest, your most authentic. And that's where the real gold is, because that is the only thing that sets you apart from someone else.
So it's diving deep and finding out the discernments and the delineations and what makes the difference, and then pulling those qualities up to the top and like dissecting them. So then you can highlight them and make them part of your brand, and then communicate them and align them with a vision, with the integrity, but like, why? Can you hold up that little van that you guys vinyl wrapped? It's like a toy car van.
Yeah. So this was on, we were just on before the thing, and I was showing Keith this little toy van. This one's a little bit beat up. It's seen some things. My 5-year-old likes to run away with it, and I find it weeks later. But this is a little toy van that we had made for Brandon over at Wise Coatings. And yeah, they went from one location to 50 in like 5 years. And this is their the logo on there, their colors, their typefaces. It's a visual system. It's their flag, so to speak, which is important, by the way, because we pledge allegiance to the flag of the, right? But why do we pledge allegiance to an inanimate object, a flag, a logo? It's because you can't see or describe. You can't see a company. You can't look at a company. So you build something that represents the company. But if you build a representation based off of nothing, it doesn't have a lot of meaning. It doesn't connect. I don't know what it is. We talked about this earlier, but sometimes you talk with people and it's not necessarily the words, but you can feel something going on. You can connect with people. You can start to resonate. You start to feel like you're on the same frequency as them, so to speak. And if you are building on a frequency that you're not actually it's not even you, it will not land in the market in the same ways that if you are just authentically yourself. And so when Brandon at Wise Coatings had us do this, and we started with, what do they believe? What is the belief that drives him as a leader? And then the entire organization. What is the brand personality archetypes? They were primary and a secondary. Your primary is like generally how you do things. Your secondary is like the salt and pepper. It's like, it's the seasoning, it's the flavor. So what makes it interesting? Because if I just say, there's this guy, Keith, he's super smart and he's just, and he's just always, but it is just one dimension. But then if I throw in like, man, he's just the passion, like all of a sudden you start to add layers to the personality. That's the primary and the secondary brand or personality archetype. And what we're doing is we're solving this question that everyone said at once. I know I've said it. It's like, how do I get my people to do it like me? How do I get them to act like me in the market, right? And you're starting to look at that not with anger, but with a question of how do I, and now you can start to build a system. We've actually built the system for you already.
I gotta say it. The band's, by the time they analyze my brand, the band has the big propeller hat on the top of the head, and all the employees, they've got like the hat with like the propeller on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was hilarious to me. I can't believe you didn't. You don't have the fake laugh. It was funnier to me, bro.
That's funny.
Anyways, all right. So that's amazing. So you do a deep analysis. Now, is it just of like the owner's vision or the entire team, or to come up with like that freaking amazing elephant and the letters? Like as soon as you showed that van, I was like, wow, that's incredible. I immediately know that company takes themselves seriously.
Right. Yeah. It's a form of social proof too, because you're showing people like you're acting it out. You're not saying you're professional. You are professional. Like, you know what I mean? Like we need to stop saying stuff in our marketing, and we need to start just doing the things we're saying in a way that's so remarkable, remarkable, that people will go tell it. And that you know what I mean? Like why say we're professional? Why say we're trustworthy? Like if you have to say isn't it a weird thing? Like if somebody you just know was like, you can really trust me. Like, wouldn't you feel like I can't trust that dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, let's stop saying stuff and let's start acting it out. One of the things, like, for instance, we talked about with Wise Coatings, like they literally roll out a red carpet. So some people will figuratively say, oh, we really, don't worry, man. We'll take care of everything. We'll roll out the red carpet for you. But they're like physically rolling out the red carpet, which is an emblematic touch point. It's emblematic of the fact that they are figuratively rolling out the red carpet for their clients. And so you have all of these things, these touch points.
So they have a red carpet and they roll it out into the customer's house.
It went into their garage. So
into the garage.
Their new floors, right?
Oh. When the floor is done?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like you're arriving on your very first time on your new
That's
red
so
carpet
smart.
walk to your garage. But they have people that take their photos with their signs. But people, it's all about they focus on, you don't like, think about it. Like everybody has the data, like everybody has the information. Like, you're going out and you're putting their features about your epoxy, your polyaspartic, why you need polyaspartic floors over epoxy and all these data and it lasts. But what they're doing is, while everybody else is saying the same things that are read on the back of the label of the product, like somebody can't read, they're focusing on their customers' feelings and they're changing the unconscious state in which the client is in, so that when I tell you that this is the best product, you don't need to read the back of the label. You don't need evidence. You're with me. You're my people now, right? Because I've changed. I've quickly gotten you on my team. And for the very best clients and the very best team members, the 5%ers, that's the 20% of the 20%. That's who we really do business for. They will take those stories, those interactions, those experiences, and they'll tell everybody about it, because they want to see you successful, because you are them. And so when you win, they win, right? And so that's what we're trying to do with business, really, in its simplest form, is we're trying to build more 5% team members and 5% clients. And those people will drive out all of the other 100% of what happens in the business.
Wow. So you're building.
Did you know that did you know 5% of people are entrepreneurs, business owners?
Really?
5% of people are Christian as well. Change the world. AD, no matter what you say or whatever you believe, there's BC and AD. Okay, it changed history. So there you go.
My new coaster is fueled by Jesus and coffee.
5% of people is who changed the world, right? And that's leadership. So you asked earlier, you said, well, who are you figuring out these beliefs about? Is it like the whole team? Leaders lead the company, the people, right? And so that's the best company, right? Not all companies, right? And I get that. Most companies actually suck. So that's why we're here, is we're trying to build better company, help people build better companies. And some people that maybe see this or listen to this right now, if they were honest with themselves, they might look around like I did years ago and say, I've spent so much time, so much effort, so much pain. I've seen my bank account hit levels I never wish I'd seen it. I've had, letters from the IRS that I never wish I got. I've all of this bad stuff. And if they get real, their company could shut down tomorrow and no one would really care. And what I want to do is help that person that truly cares about what they do to just shift a few things, to stop being what everybody else says you ought to do and what you need to do. And you've got to have, go get this dollar amount. It doesn't matter where you go. There's always somebody above you, stop playing to whatever you think the client wants you to be, whatever you think, and just start building something that's worth something. Stop building, chicken scratch on napkins with crayons that it can be thrown out and no one will care. And we've spent so much time. Start just treating it like it's a Mona Lisa. It's a David, the statue of David in marble. Start treating it like we want this to impact people's kids. And I know that I'm getting way too up in the clouds, but all I'm saying is that it's actually quite simple. I know I'm bringing it to a big space, but what I'm simply saying is stop delivering a transaction and start making people resonate and identify with you and feel something in the transaction, and tell them a story that they're excited about. that they want to tell their kids about when their kids come home, that they want to tell people at Thanksgiving dinner about. Why are people not talking about you? It's because you're not doing things worth talking about. That's the only possibility. That's harsh to hear, but people are not talking. If people aren't talking about me, it's because I'm not doing things worth talking about. That's it. It's very simple. And so if we just start doing things in a way which can be talked about and spread, they will be. And so that's all I'm trying to say, is that for the person that they're ready to take their business to a place of like, I want this to change the people's lives at this company. I want them to feed their family in ways that are much greater than food. I want to have them go out in the community, and I want to change my market, my little world that I can touch and feel. I want to have the best company to work for, the best people, and we have the best customers. For that person, it's a little shift. We just have to start asking better questions.
Bro. Hey, my friend, did you know that you can get access and even discounts to a lot of the different tools that I talk about here on the Untrapped podcast? Whether it be an actual physical tool that you use in your business or a software tool, a lot of the things that I talk about, I'm actually an affiliate partner. So if you just open up your browser and go to keithkalfas.com/resources, it'll take you to the list of all the resources that I use in my business, and you'll even get a discount. Enjoy the show. Stop it. You're raising my standards. Because when you speak like this, I should just take that part right there. You should take it too from the podcast and just make it like a video in and of itself. Ryan Kettering. It's like, because it's not, you were speaking it like, you know what I mean? It was because it was making me think about when I first started my landscape business and the visions that I had, kind of like the beginning of the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, where he talks about you had these visions and then reality set in. And you're talking about this stuff is back. It always has been. It's within your control.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can do it no matter where you're at. The cool thing about being yourself is you can do it right this moment. Like, there's a book that The Gap and the Gain. You've probably read it. I didn't read it, but I read the title, so I know what it's about. But okay, some people will tell you, right? So essentially what the book says is that essentially stop looking at the gap between who you wish you were, like the gap from here to tomorrow, and look at the gain from here to yesterday. What I'm here to tell you is forget about the gap and the gain. It's right. Like, so here's your gap. Here's your future. Here's your past. You don't need to look back and feel great about yourself to be yourself and to be your best. You just need to start right now, right? You see what I'm saying? You need to just right this moment, just be yourself. Be present. So it's not about look at how far I've come to feel good about myself. It's not about look at where I'm going and I feel inadequate. It's about, am I living it right now? Because if you do that, everything in your past can be framed positively. Everything in your future gets framed better as well, right? And so all of the worst parts, like I have this guy, he has a horrible thing happening in business right now. And I'm like, look, man, that sucks what you're going through. Now that we're talking, can I spin it can I show you the pots? Can I show you how great this can be for you? Like some of you have to get permission sometimes, because sometimes there's such bad things happening. When you're in it, you're like, this is the worst. But the reality is that once you're past that, and if you're able to get some perspective, even the worst things, you can take it and use it because it's part of your story. And you can use it and fuel it into what you really stand for, what you're here to do. And I know that I'm making it sound like the reality is that purpose isn't all that like up in the sky cloud stuff. Purpose is just us being ourselves at every moment that we can. Sometimes we're going to get off track, right? But it's just trying to come back and just be our best. And so sometimes your purpose is just the person in front of you, treating them in the way that is authentic that you should be treating them, to get them into the state of mind and to, like, you know what I mean? Like right now, we both have a purpose and it's not outside of this call. There's nothing else in the world but what's happening right now. And this is my purpose, right? This moment. And I could fumble it, and but we're doing it, right? And so a lot of times people kind of make it like a bigger thing than it has to be. Like, oh, I have to go save, I don't know, an entire continent to have a purpose, or I have to save someone's life, or whatever. Or I have to go to the highest mountain, or what? No, you just need to look at your whole life to see what does it mean to be you, and start doubling down on that. And you'll start to see and feel what it's like to be on purpose. You'll start to get in that flow state. All a state of flow is the fact that you're walking your purpose line. You're on purpose. You're acting out what it means to be you. And so you don't have to think about it. And that's why it's a flow state, is things slow down and you have full perspective, because you're no longer thinking about what does the client think? What is the market? What is this going to mean for, I was watching this podcast. Heck is this dude's name? I can't remember. He's John Christ. You know that dude? He's a comedian. I mean, and he was on a podcast though. And he was talking about, he's like, I don't think anybody has money problems. I don't think in the US you can have money problems. I don't think it's that people that it's not that you don't make enough money. It's about that you can't roll around with your tail light out in your neighborhood. It's that you can't make your own food instead of ordering out. It's like it's not a money problem. It's the problem that you've bought into all of this stuff that the world is, right? We've all seen that and felt like we've spent something and you're like, man, I don't know why I did that, right? But if you get real about it, a lot of we've bought into what business and what we've bought into what it all has to be so much that we forgot who we are. And all we have to do is really simple, is just be more of you. What do you stand for? What's your personality? What are the stories that help me to understand that are interesting, that people want to tell about? So now you have your hero legend. Every hero has legends about them, right? And they stand for something, and there's some different thing about them, and there's their quirks and features, their personality, right? And it's capturing all that and just starting to use it instead of, oh, come hire us. We're running a special. We're licensed, insured, and trained, and our guys will be there in under an hour or 4 hours. That's not, nobody cares about that stuff. You know what I mean? So you're just going to be compared with the other people that are doing the same thing. So why not do something different? Why not do it different in the sense of looking outward and say, I'm going to be different than that. So, look at what they're doing. I'm going to do the opposite. Instead, just be different by being the same as you already are. And that is inherently different because we're all different. And you lead your team in that same way. Here's a system of who we are, and we're going to live this out, and we're going to act it out. And we can now get creative, because now I can say to my team, hey, here's this value. Tell me how you live. What's your craziest story from this week or this month where you saw this happen? Let's just say friendliness. You want people to think you're friendly, because maybe that's really authentically part of who you are. And you can say to your team, hey, what's the friendliest thing? What's the craziest story that you remember, from last week where something friendly happened? Once you prompt them, like with my daughter, she's a teenager. If I say, well, how'd your day go? She'll be like, oh, it went fine, right? But if I say, what's the funniest thing that happened today? She'll start laughing before she even says something, right? Because I've prompted her, right? And if she doesn't, I can go further. I can say, in this person's class, where I know that the guy is kind of quirky, there's nothing happened that funny there. And so what you can do with your team is, once you understand what stories are you can get them to they're living them out already. Your rock stars are living them out. You can get them to find them for you. And now you can use them to connect with your market.
Oh. Bro, I can see you when you speak. It's making me think of everything on a much higher level. And I'm imagining service business owners coming to Ryan's boot camp and you're speaking life back into them, and they're like, yeah. And they're believing in themselves and revamping their belief in their brand and their dreams and everything. And now it's actually, they're creating it, and the marketing and the branding and the stories and everything, and coming up with their brand stance. And so what does this process look like for somebody who actually wants to do it?
Yeah. So we call it the fractal brand identity framework. It's fractal. Thanks, Troy. Thanks, sir. Good to see you on there. It's fractal because essentially a fractal is a self-similar thing, like a snowflake or like a tree. If you look at a tree, it looks like a tree. And then you zoom in on a leaf, it still looks like a tree, or a branch, it looks like a little tree, right? So these are fractals. You're self-similar. And so the fractal brand framework is about being more of the same. It's about saying, all right, what's the initial kind of shape or snowflake kind of shape or whatever. And then that's going to kind of fractal out. It's going to be self-similar on every single interaction it can be. And so the way that happens is you get that framework first. What do we stand for? What makes us different? What are the stories people should be telling about us? And once you understand kind of the keystone, like building blocks of like, what does it mean to be you as an individual, but as a team? Now your team has a framework that they can start to get creative with. They can say like, look what I did, or I have an idea with this thing, or, hey, here's a way that we could build an emblematic touch point around this where we have some sort of physical interaction that it's symbolic of the experience that we can give to the client, right? There's a I'm forgetting her name right now, but there's you might know her. There's a maid service in Washington State. Every client at their that they serve, they bake half a dozen cookies while they're cleaning. So imagine you come home from work and like your wife and your kids are all happy, and the kids are like, "It was a cookie day, Dad." Like that company doesn't, like, think about it. That company doesn't.
While the maid service is cleaning the house, they'll bring cookies and
bake
put
the
them
cookies in the house. Oven. You know, like a realtor will bake the cookies so your house smells good before you sell. So they do it while they clean the house. So you have the aroma of the cookies and you have the cookies, right? And that's what, like, if you want the best genius. Brands don't need a logo. Like, the best brands don't need a name. They act it out. If Hercules didn't have a name, we'd call him something else, right? Like, do something worth talking about, right? Be the best version of yourself. And luckily we do get a name. We can claim like that is. But if you didn't, the market would name you because they need something to refer to you by, right? But instead, we're trying to pick the names and we're worried about the wedding rings and the names and the logos instead of worrying about the marriage underneath of it, what it represents, right? And ultimately, if you don't have the package that the thing is representing, if you have a logo and it represents nothing, what's the point? So you need to have a solid brand, a set of actions that you follow in the market to have a clear idea of who you are in the market in a memorable way that's worth talking about. And then you build a set of things that represent that. Some of them are visual, like typefaces and colors and logos. Some of them are audible. You've heard, jingles from companies or songs, or some of them are other senses. Cinnabon, they bake sheets of icing and cinnamon before they open because there's nobody buying cinnamon buns yet, but they know that scent is that's part of their brand, right? That's a representation of their brand. And so we can start to represent who we are once we know who we are authentically. So the fractal brand figures out, what do you stand for? The single idea, not 10 of them. How are you different? A single idea, not 10 of them. If you have 10 of them, you're compensating because you don't know what really makes you different. What's your brand personality archetypes? What stories, the 5 brand story narratives, vision. Happened again, didn't it? Good thing I have 2 cameras. I don't know why.
Are you using an A10 Mini Pro?
Yeah.
Yeah, when channel 1 starts to heat up, it'll do that, and then it'll go black, and then so you can fix that by getting fiber optic cables that are shorter, and it can't be any longer than 25 feet for channel 1 specifically, and each channel has its own frickin' personality.
Makes sense.
Anyways, sorry, I have.
I think it's probably just. It's probably. This is the first time I've ever had problems with this. I think it's probably the cable because I ripped apart my whole office last week and I put it all back together in a different way. And I don't know what cables I think it's a cable. It's probably overheating, right? It's probably what you said, but I bet if I switch my cable to a better one, I'll be good again. Anyways. So you figure that stuff out, and then it's a system to apply it. And you can do like quarterly check-ins, like audit, sort of like, how are we doing on being us? I know it sounds it can sound silly to have to check in, like, are we being ourselves? But it's really what we do on a personal level. Like, we look around once in a while and we're like, is that really me? Do I really need it? Like, am I really my best? And then sometimes we'll start working out or we'll start eating better because we know that we've drifted from what we are like at our best, and we kind of pull back. That this is a way to do that as a team, to say, this is what we're like at our best, and we're going to be able to bring it back to that consistently, always focusing on what our ideals are. If you want your team to come together, culture, right? This is like a buzzword right now. How do you create culture? Like, it's not a foosball table in the lobby. It's, if you have people you want to come together, you need to show them an ideal that that everyone's working towards together. Same with a marriage, right? If you want your marriage to come together, you're 3 times as likely to stay married if you have kids, for instance. Why? Because you have a common goal instead of you going out elsewhere, right? So we don't come together like this. We come together like this towards something else, some sort of ideal, like a core belief. Or for a family, for instance, you're also 3 times more likely to stay married if you go to church regularly, right? So you have to have something you're pointing towards. That creates culture, because we start acting. We look around and say, hey, I believe in that thing too. I do too. I've found that if I do this thing, I get there better. I feel like I'm on track better. And then the person next to you says, great, I'm going to do that too. Now you start to have sets of things that are happening within an organization that are similar. And now that's what we kind of look at as culture. But it's really just people oriented towards a single point. And you got to pick that point, or essentially people will pick it for you, or there'll be a lack of it. The point will be nothing. It'll be you see what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you'll get lucky and your team will pick it for you, but why not just pick it? Like, what do we stand for? And talk about it. Make sure everybody is actually on board with that,
Untrapped Podcast listeners, ready to get more clients? Footbridge Media helps contractors like you get found online. They create high-converting websites and boost your Google rankings so potential clients can find you. Get the leads you deserve. Visit footbridgemedia.com/Keith to untrap your business.
Man, you guys drill deep with all this stuff. This is amazing. You said you had a free guide that people can download and get their minds blown.
Yeah. Is it that? No, it's not gonna. I was trying my phone.
I already downloaded it.
My lighting was not. Sorry for my lighting. So on our website, go to getprolific.com. That's GET prolific.com. And on the top somewhere, you'll see a thing that talks about the ebook or workbook. And get that. It's a fractal brand identity workbook. And it walks you through all the stuff. Even if you don't use all of it, if you get a little bit, if you define one story better, one personality trait better. Thanks, guy. Broseph. It gives you a place to start. You just have to start, right? You don't, a lot of people think you have to know all the stuff. That's not true. You have to act in accordance to what you just inherently know. You don't believe something to act on it. You act first, then you believe, then you act more. So you just have to find something in there that you're like, I have an idea, whatever. And just start trying to act in accordance with who you actually are, instead of think about like this, like how many people do we talk to and they're like, you got to stop being the man, you got to stop being the player and the manager, you got to be the owner, and you got to, here's all the stuff you got to do. And it's like, well, nobody went on the field and took Tom Brady by the back of his neck and said, look, you need to be up there in that box. You are nothing down here on the field working. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of different people. Everybody's acting like we all need to be the same person. Like we all need to be the same business. I don't know that's when somebody comes in, they're like, what should I do with my brand? I'm like, I don't know, man. How am I supposed to? I don't know who you are. I know a set of ideas that generally apply to everybody, just like I generally know a set of ideas, and so do you, that apply to every human, right? We kind of general things that work in society and communication, et cetera. I know, but I don't know that person. And so we need to start questioning some of the things we're doing and get back to who we are, because when we can do that, everybody will want to share it and talk about it. And that's what you've done so well. That's why people watch you, is because you just are you, and you can take it or leave it, but you're you. And that's why the people that do want that, they keep coming back. Whereas there's many people, and you don't care about them as much. They've checked out. That's fine. We don't need them watching. They're going to cloud up our algorithms, right? We need the people that are Keith followers. We need them. And we want those people so that they'll share the videos like everybody's sharing right now. Share the video. And anyways.
Most people like the old, crazy, funny Keith Kalfas who had no filter at all.
Yeah, well,
And
you start here. I did it when back in Periscope. I was like really loud, and then you kind of find your rhythm, right? Everybody's gonna be like, if you start trying to be a better version, you're gonna go too high. You're gonna go too much, and then you kind of come back down, right?
I mean, I had a couple funny jokes.
Rhythm.
I almost interjected when I started kind of laughing a little, and I'm like, no, that's not a good look. Don't say that, because it would have been. It's like, because it's a gamble. Some of these things, it was so funny to me, and I have to say it because I know that it's because I genuinely know it's funny, but there's a certain criteria of people that will see the picture in my mind and they'll just start screaming, laughing. And that's like, okay, I'll say one of the jokes I was going to say.
All right, let's go.
When you were talking about the company brand and the high level, it's like, I was getting so inspired. And then a controversial, like George Carlin says, what makes a joke funny is the amount of the exaggeration, and the more the exaggeration, the funnier the joke is. So I feel like we think about the whole company brand, and I'm like crying, tears are dripping, like I've got it. And it's a lawn care company. It's called Circus Cuts, and so the truck and the trailer and everything is like it's ridiculous, like clowns with polka dots, and the mowers come out, and now every morning the employees have to dress up in full freaking clown attire with big ass stupid shoes and the clown hat and they have full clown makeup, but it's 100 degrees out, and these assholes are on the mowers all pissed off while it's all dripping, so they're fucking miserable. But in my head, I saw that.
Oh man. That's even if that's not a person, that'll be a start of a great video ad, I think.
The dude's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's all pissed off because he's got to wear a clown suit.
I feel like you could definitely make an ad out, even if you're not the clown company.
No, I just realized that wasn't even my idea. This credit goes out to my dad, who was the one who he actually thought of that idea. I got to call my dad after this and tell him that.
Well, so when it comes to like if something, for some people, like that's their idea, like for real, not like legit. And for other people, that's like in marketing, it would be the pink, like people would talk about like the pink postcard. Remember that? Like, oh, you got to like mail out these pink flyers, like has to be bright pink and like just text. And, like everybody's looking for the silver bullet, right? And the problem is that for some people, that's like not them at all. And for some people, that is them. And just the same way that I can't be you and you can't be me. Like if I tried to go be you, I'll just flop, right? And I see a lot of people that are like, Ryan, what's going to make me the most money? And it's like, if that's your motivation, you're probably on the wrong thing. Like you could
ask them, why do you want to make the most money? And they'll tell you a bunch of lies. Like, I just want my wife to be proud of me and my dad to be proud of me.
Right.
So,
yeah. I think a lot of times, it's really our ego really protecting ourselves because if you look around, that's why I try to get to the simple. It's like this stuff is not in the clouds as it sometimes sounds. It's like, stop thinking about transactions and start thinking about that person on the other side of you as a real person. And how do you want them to feel when you leave? Like if you could give them anything, if you had everything you could what would you give them? Like, would you really like think about even on TikTok and all these things, when they give somebody money or whatever, they're not giving them money. They're giving them surprise and delight. They're giving them a sense of like the fact that maybe like somebody does care. Like you don't need money to do that. Like you could do anything. They're just, they're just using money to do that. But like if you want to deliver something to a client, aside from your service, what do you want it to be? What do you want them to leave with? What do you want them to feel? What idea do you want them to have? How do you want them to think about themselves? How do you want them to think about you? Whatever. And if you can drill down into that, you can just start to make that happen. And for some people, that might be showing up to a job in a clown suit or a tuxedo or something else. That might be them. For some people, that's not them. And they'll be actually doing what we don't want to do, which is things that we think will serve some other, purpose that isn't really our own. So yeah, I mean, I think it's all about trying to figure out what our thing is.
I love this, bro.
There's a lot. Like my buddy has he came out with a barbecue sauce, and it's called Not the Best, and their whole like thing is, it's kind of like this, I don't know, like a kind of rough around the edges. Like it's not, cause
I already want to try it just by hearing the name. I'm like, what do you mean it's not the best? I got to try that.
Well, the whole story behind it is that this guy, he went online and was like, yeah, it's not the best. Like, it's kind of like that one dude that you're like, okay, a-hole, but, so it's like, it became this joke that it's like, it's actually really, really good, but it's like, okay, well, we're going to own the hate. And it was like, well, it's really good. It's award winning, but it's, it's not the best, and so he ran with that though. And that's his style. And it's like on their website, it's like, refunds. No, we don't give refunds. We already told you it's not the best. Like, like stuff like that. And so you lean into who you are. And for them, that's them. Like we're a little rough around the edges and kind of that, it's the rebel archetype, right? But for me, I'm different, right? I'm sage, creator archetype, right? So once you understand who you are, like enough that you can explain it to somebody else, now that other person, maybe a team member, can say, hey, what if we did that? What if I had this thing that happened last week. Like one time I went to Olive Garden and the waiter gave my kids Pokemon cards, these like holographic, they're in hard plastic sleeves, like legit nice stuff. And he's like, do your kids like Pokemon? My little one at the time was like 3 years old. I'm like, this dude will eat, like he'll pick up trash off the ground and play with it all day. Like, of course he loves these like holographic, shiny, cards, but so he gave us these things and the kids were like, they loved them and all that. It was cool. But think about it like this. A lot of people are like, that's a cool story. But think about this. When was the last time you told a story about Olive Garden? Like everybody knows about what they're all about. They know about the breadsticks, about the mince, about the salad. Why is the reason to talk about? There is no reason to talk about them. But that waiter did something that made that restaurant and him worth talking about. And the problem with that story is their manager probably doesn't know, the regional, about that all the way up the line. Nobody knows about that except for the people here, right? And so what we want to do is we want to be able to talk about these things with our team to say, this is how we want people to feel. And when you see this from a client, I want you to tell me about it. And they're going to forget about it. So at the end, at weekly meetings, you're going to prompt them, like, what did you do what's the funniest story you had with a client? What's the scariest story we had with a client? What's the something EST you had with the client? Like whatever you want to try to figure out, and start to capture these moments and start to figure out how can we use these to connect with people? Because ultimately nobody cares. I told real quick, I told about the Gary Vaynerchuk story, right? Where many people know about Gary Vaynerchuk here in the chat probably. And Gary Vaynerchuk had the wine company years ago before VaynerMedia. And that he drove, some lady had an order. She had like 2 cases. She needed them for like a wedding or something. And it was windy and it was raining and like it was on a Saturday or something. And it was never going to get there in time. So he put the stuff in his car. And he drove 6 hours to the lady. So it's not that he has dedication written on the wall that matters to us. It's a story about an action of dedication. And so we have to stop saying stuff. We have to stop saying we have integrity and saying that we're dedicated and saying this and that, and start living it and finding the stories and capturing them and telling the stories. Tell people the story about what your training means. Instead of saying, if you think it's cool that you're insured, tell me a story that makes me think that that's anything next to interesting. Like, so that's what if we can get into that mode, we can start to do something pretty interesting with our people, with our team members and our clients, I think. So.
I like that. So if there's these stories, would you take one of the stories and then use it as a marketing piece to now tell it to new customers? Like, this is a story that we tell customers.
Yeah.
When regarding a certain topic, we tell them a story and then they go, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So some things are stories. There's a lot of different types of stories. And we're not going to get into all of this, but one of the types is the emblematic touch point. That's the cookies, or earlier when we were talking, I showed you the Carvana coin that I got. It's this huge coin. My 5-year-old got to put it into this larger than life car vending machine, and the car came out in this huge, it is amazing event. And it's like, why isn't all of our businesses like that, right? Where you have And you get the coin, they give you a little keychain version too to commemorate it, because they want you to remember that moment. So there's a lot of different types of story. That coin is a story. It's a story. It's almost like a piece of money, right? Technically it is, but not really. But think about what it is. It's stories are social currency. They're bottled up into a thing. Like when you have the emblematic touch point, it's like you take a whole story and cram it into a little like morsel think about what you can do with $1. You can do anything with $1, but it's leveraged into this thing you can hold. That's what an emblematic touch point is. So it's something that you can, like, we can't afford to give these vans to every client that we have, but for our 5%ers like Brandon Vaughn that tell everybody about us and bring us on his, talk about us on his views with the upflip and million view video. Like, I can certainly do something special for my 5%ers at a minimum. So start with what you can do. Maybe you can't do it for everybody. Maybe you have a great idea and you don't have the budget for everybody, but you can do it for the very best clients. Do that then, but it's always for them. It's not just sometimes, because a system will break down if you only do it when we have time, because we never have time. So you always have to do it, but that doesn't mean you have to always do it for everybody. You can have a criteria to that system, right? But some of them might be, what you go to market with. You might tell that story to every person on every ad. There's companies like that. There's some companies that it's not so much that type of story at that level, but as you dig deeper, you start to get to more stories, right? Like if you go on Tesla's website, you're not going to maybe see a story right in your face, but you might have heard about the flamethrowers that they made. You might have heard that they shot a Model S in outer space. You might have heard that they gave their patents away to Ford and all these other ones, right? You might have heard that they came up to, built the first company in 120 years in the auto space with a $0 marketing dollar budget. You might have heard some of these stories. And then when you start to interact with them and you see more evidence of them, every action is a promise of new action, or it should be. And so people talk about brand promise and their eyes glaze over, like, I don't even know what that is or how to do it. You're doing it, right? You're acting, and that's a promise of later actions. And so we just need to be intentional about those actions, and you will be creating promises with those actions. But are they worth talking about, right? Like I have a Tesla. Maybe I shouldn't say that because now all the PC people will like tell me that I'm, I don't know, Nazi or something. Now that's a thing right now. I don't know why, but you can say open the butthole and the charge port will open, right? There's weird little things like that. That's a legit thing you can say to your car. You click the button, open the button, and then your charge port opens. Like there's little things like that let you know you're driving a Tesla. Yes, it's the same company that makes flamethrowers for their best clients. You see what I'm saying? Like it's fractal. It's consistent.
Is there a thing during Christmas you can tell it to talk and the windshield wipers and all the lights will go off and do crazy stuff? Yeah,
every year they do like a Christmas software drop. And it has like a light show, a new one that's included, and some new features. It's always around Christmas. And the reason why is it's consistent, and they know all the not podcasters, but like video, like everybody picks it up, like the video people that are covering Tesla. And it's a big deal, right? Or they make it a big deal. And they've really cracked the code with like, it's kind of like Apple. Like they don't have to go on Apple's Facebook after you get off this and see how many posts they have on their Facebook. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with hero, 0. So why? Well, because they don't need to use social media like that. They use it differently. They don't want to talk about themselves. They want you and I'm talking about them right now. Why do they need to talk about themselves, right? So all I'm saying is that we need to stop looking for the answers that everyone else has. And we need to start asking the questions that pertain to what we already know. So we have answers. You already have all the answers. You don't have the right questions yet. And so you need to look at the answers you have already, start formulating the right questions. We have some frameworks to figure it out. And now you can go out and start acting in accordance to who you are more and creating more of the answers out in the market. And people will look at you and say, how do you get like that? I want to be like that guy. And they'll never be able to do it. People go out of business trying to operate like somebody else. That's not for you. That's for them,
Be yourself with the volume turned all the way up.
Yeah.
Where's that download again?
It's at, go to Get Prolific, GET Prolific.com. And on the top bar, you'll see a link to get the ebook or workbook, something like that. It'll say on there. It's the Fractal Brand Identity Workbook. And it's probably like 15 pages. It'll walk you through kind of the whole framework that we actually use that exact same workbook when we go through with our clients. It's just we're doing guiding. And we do have that service available to people if they're ready to take that step to have somebody guide them through it. Because the reality is that you already know, you already believe something and live your life by it. You already stand by it for something. But if you ask somebody, they'll give you like the answer that they think you want to hear or something like that. I just don't let people off the hook, right? And I'll keep asking okay, but what are you like? Okay, I know what you're like at your best. Now tell me what you're like at your worst. And like, I understand what you want your team members to learn and values. What do you teach your kids? Like, what do you want them to leave the house with? Like, I ask questions to get them out of their normal state of thinking so that we can get to the real answers about the real things that drive every action that they take.
Mm-hmm. Do you want people to find you on social media or your company? Is there anything? What's the best way if people want to take the next step?
Yeah, I would get the ebook if I was you. But if you're if not for you, you could book a call with our sales team if you're ready to move faster. But yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook is where I'm probably most active. You search my name, which is on this feed, is right there. Kettering, but yeah, but I'd highly recommend the ebook because
it's amazing. I downloaded it and I read through it and I'm like, this is incredible. Like,
yeah, it's short. If you look for something, if you look for your gem in there, like for some people, like your low hanging fruit thing, like for you, it might be the brand personality. Like, oh, look, I could use this brand personality and then I could take these traits and I could put it in ChatGPT and I could ask it what types of things we might do to improve this problem we're having, but in our tone, in our way. You see what I'm saying? So like you might find whatever your gem is in there, or for somebody else, it might be, there's a link in there that goes to a video, a 15 or 30 minute video where I talk about how to find your core belief, the idea that drives everything that you do, right? And like I said, your why is not your family. That's a who. Your why is some deeper idea this reason that you exist, that you live out for your family, but also for so many other people, right? Because if it was your family, then you wouldn't have made it to have a family. You'd be, think about it, you'd go be depressed your whole life until you had a family. If it was really your family, where you live with no meaning, right? So that's not really true. You are living with meaning, but you need clarity on that if you want your team to follow it, right? We talked about this before the show. There was
Jamie
one guy
Schmidt just popped in. He said, "Ryan is
what's
awesome."
up, Jamie? Thanks,
I saw
man.
Jamie's he's doing live events again, or so I saw him on Facebook. It's awesome. Yeah, dog. So keep going.
That AI pennant thing. Remember I was talking about that before the show. Was that interesting? Should I say that one? The guy that had the AI pennant and he asked about his values, but
yeah.
So I just want to point this out that because you're already living it out, but it's not, think about it, like we all work out every day, right? Like we all move to some extent. We all burn calories. So what's the difference between me and a bodybuilder? They do it intentionally. They have a methodology that they follow. Right? So you're already living out in some capacity all of your, the thing. You can't really act outside of who you are for very long, right? Your identity drives you to act within the nature of who you are. So, but a lot of times when you ask somebody who they are, they'll tell you something different than what's real. And so what's cool is you can actually so there's a guy on social media, he was wearing with this AI voice thing that he wore it all day. And he recorded every word he said the entire day. And he asked the AI at the end of the day, am I living in accordance to my values or how grade me like A to F, right? How am I doing? And it gave him a C- or something. And he's like, I got to do better, right? The way I look at it is we talked about the gap and the gain. Like you're looking at the gain, I got to do better. Or if you get an A, you're saying, I'm doing great. I'm looking at no, you're doing something right now. What is that? You're something like you're already living your best in some capacity right now. What are those things? And so I said, well, maybe you're asking the wrong question. You're saying grade me on this standard that I put on the wall for some reason. What if you have the wrong words on the wall? Why don't you ask the AI to tell you what standard you should be using? What things would I get an A+ at? And he got a different set of values, a set of values that he's living out at his best, according to that AI, throughout the day. And it maybe they're right or wrong, but it's surely, I guarantee you that once you understand, now he can be like, wait a second, like, yeah, this. And once you know what those things are in service to, because your core values aren't the answer, they're a definition. Their definition of the answer. The answer is the core belief. What is the single idea that I live by? Your core values are a tool set to say, if you want to live like this, if you want to act like you believe this, you would do this. You would act like this. You would have this thing, right? And it's the glue that connects it all, right? Imagine a story, but all of the scenes are like disconnected. You need like the character.
Looking to maximize your production in the field? Ballard Products has over 300 products that can help you get the most out of your efforts every day. Ballard Products. Whether you are looking to get a better cut, keep your gear on your machine, keep your expensive equipment clean and safe, or just get the most out of your machines, Ballard has you covered. Ballard Products. Jump onto our easy-to-use updated website at ballard-inc.com to get your gear ordered today. Keep grinding. Stay safe. And have a great season. Ballard. Make sure to use the code Keith10 to save 10% on our full line of gear. That's Keith10.
Bro, I'm going to have to go get therapy after this. I'm literally thinking about the times I've cried, how much I love my wife, my marriage, my dog that died. Because I a few months ago I attended 2 Tony Robbins events, and they were $5,000 a piece, and they were deep dive 6-day unpacking your value system and the spiral dynamics of what makes you tick. And there was people all over the audience crying and shit. So you speaking this right now is hitting me at a different level than probably most people, and I'm just taking it way too deep. But it was friggin' incredible. But
yeah. The cool thing is, and hopefully it hits some other people, but even if you're like moderately like interested, the cool thing is that purpose is not usually all that exciting. But it is like a state of meditation. Like it's a state of flow. Like when you're on purpose, you don't need necessarily for everything to be fireworks and going crazy, and like it's not all peaks. It's about the journey. It's about being unified with that purpose. And so as you act it out, you're just in a state of flow, and you're consistent, and you just like, you're on like you feel like $100 or $100,000, what, I don't know, some saying that makes sense there. But like, you know what I mean? It's not, sometimes you ever been through a day, like nothing necessarily happened that was like fireworks and all that, but you went through the day and you felt good. Like, you're like, I just feel like in the zone right now. Like, it's not like I won the lottery or got the next best client or anything like that. I just feel good. Like, and that's the state of flow. That's what living with purpose is. It doesn't mean you're always going to have these peaks at every turn. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, always crying or whatever, but sometimes you can. But other times it's about making the person on the other side of you on the table is about knowing, coming into that interaction, knowing what you want that to do for them, for you. What is it in service to? You're going to a client's house in service of what? To make an extra $1, to clean their window or cut their lawn. Don't you think they would get somebody else to cut the lawn if you don't? So what's the purpose? If somebody else can cut their lawn, then what is the purpose of you going there? Specifically you. I'll tell you what the purpose is that there's something that only you can deliver them. And that's why you're there. And that's the goal, is in that moment to understand who you are. And when you stay in that state, you will naturally understand how to apply it in those moments.
Have a quick question. I did lawn care for years. We do landscaping, window cleaning now, but like I'm the type of guy, when I go with a backpack blower and we're done cutting the lawn and wrapping up, blow every nook and cranny, everything, and go and blow off all the basement window ledges and even I'd point the blower up and blow off any spider webs or anything that grass has caught in, like in this, and then blow off the door stoop. And then the mat goes like this from the blower. But what happens if you're a lawn care pro, when you blow the stoop and walk away, if you're amateur, you're not aware that the grass flew up in the air and fell right back down. So you got to blow it from a side angle again and make sure that the concrete and all the edges are like precision clean. You just take an extra 60 seconds on each lawn, charge them more, and the customers love it. And you blow the street and make it so it's like, when I do that, I imagine the customer opening their door or carrying groceries in and looking around and go like, wow, like, yeah, they really took the time to make sure every little nook and cranny was blown off and underneath like the patio furniture, and they didn't cut any corners. Like, and there's something about those that is like, there's something about that's valuable.
Because it's not about the thing, and that's why you care so much, is because it's about you're thinking about what is that thing in service to. And that's why it's so important that you take it seriously. That little thing that some people don't care about. Some people think that that's what you said is a whole waste of time. There's some clients, by the way, that would think that, but you're not doing it for those clients. You're doing it for the 20%ers or the 5%ers, the people that do open the door and say, wow, this guy cares about what he does. He cares about me enough to make this look nice. He didn't have to do, or maybe I felt like he did, but most people don't do this. And boy, he spent the time. You know how many times, like, one of the things that I do fairly well at is I'm not usually in a hurry. I'm pretty patient, and it's amazing how many comments that I get. It's like, like I'll hold the door for somebody going into a restaurant, and then they like feel like they're like, well, you should like, and like, you can literally give somebody 5 seconds of your time and they feel like you gave them an hour, because they're so used to a world that is moving at a pace that is insane, and they don't care about anything. And so there's some people that see you take an extra 10 seconds or 60 seconds, and to them, that can make you can literally change their whole perspective on something based and it's a lot of times it's in the spirit. It's the spirit in which you're doing it, right? Because they can feel like, when somebody does something, sometimes you can feel the spirit by which it was done. Like, there's some things that, like, the precision of them is like, you understand what it, you know what I mean? You understand what went behind it.
Study this, the heart and spirit of the law, or the thing. There's a higher law form, and it's we call this exclusive equity, is the non-religious teachings and articulations of Christ. So it's the heart and spirit of it that holds the real value. And below that, you have like principles and doctrines and maxims and all these things. So it's the highest. Right. And then you have this legalism and all these color of law and all this. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. And there's different spirits by which we do things, and they're all in service to a higher spirit that we're doing them. And when somebody appreciates the work you do, they don't appreciate the work. They appreciate the spirit by which the work was done. And so you're trying to figure out, like, okay, it's not about the work, because anybody could do the work. They're not paying for the work. They're paying for the difference between how you did that work, how and why, and the things behind it. And so simply coming into an interaction with this is what I want to accomplish, and has nothing to do with lawn care, but that's a whole lot of what I'm going to do while I'm here. That shift in how you approach it changes. What's up, Alvin? It changes how you do it. You don't know it, but you do. And people can sense it. They can feel it, because you leave and you shake their hand differently. You don't know it, and that's why we just want to get more people on board on our team that do things in that same direction to serve the same things that we're serving, which is not a dollar and not necessarily a customer, but it's in service of our beliefs, our purpose. And that involves people, and involves money many times. It involves a lot of these other things, but it's in service to whatever our purpose is, that idea, that ideal that drives us. And we're just trying to get more people doing that. And I think if we can do that, the world will be a lot better place.
It's like a higher standard. It's a higher frequency. It's a higher level. It's for the right reasons. It's like, that's a nice way to prioritize things.
Yeah. And just to bring it back down from the clouds for 1 second for people, is that sometimes that means you shake somebody's hand and you look them in the eye, and you in that moment are feeling, I've done my best for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you went out and saved somebody's kid from a burning building or something. Like, sometimes, most times I would say, it's being our best in normal situations. Like, it's just being our best. And sometimes that the stories that we end up telling are the extreme versions of them. Those extreme versions are the same as the boring versions, by the way. They're just an extreme version of them. And so we take the extreme ones and those become the stories we tell. And so you do something and you say, hey, you're not going to believe it. This one time I did this thing and here's what happened. And this is the story about, and that's the story. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the non-noteworthy version of that story. And that's where you get to pull in the ones that are more theatrical into your normal stories to make them feel more theatrical, more drama from it, even though they didn't live it exactly. But you can give them the coin, the thing, the whatever, and that commemorates their experience and all of the other experiences that were like it, in service to what? In service, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. The first few years of my business, I made no money and had an eviction notice on my door because I was the empathic guy who cared so much. I'd be sitting in a lady's garage crying with her as she's telling me how her husband died in a jet ski accident, or the person who lost their spouse to, like, they call it the C word. And I cared so much. I'd spend all these times with customers listening to their life stories, and all these people, I thought they loved me, bro. I cared so much about all these people. It was like, and I also got all the work done. And then when I finally started realizing my worth and raising all the prices, all of these favorite customers of mine fired. And I was like, but I really have the heart and spirit. So I was traumatized and I felt neglected and beat up. And I had to like peel myself up off the ground. I had a lot of emotional heartbreaks when I realized that, wait a second, this whole time I've been lied to and bamboozled. All this emotion was fake. These customers were actually loyal to the dollar. So then I polarized in the opposite direction and listened to a bunch of Grant Cardone. And by like 2017, I went the opposite and I became just purely transactional. And I was all about get in, be nice to the customer, sell the job, make the money, get out. I need to make more money. And I was furious. And that actually blew up in my face because I became freaking miserable and I hated my business because it was purely transactional. So I think we have to go through some of these growing pains to like have a backbone, be empathic, care for real, and make sure you have boundaries and pricing and all that stuff. So yeah. There's
a guy, I can't remember his name, is Steve Ozanich. I'm getting that wrong. But he wrote a book. And this is rough because I can't remember the book's name either. So like people are like, okay, this is not helpful. But anyways, on the book, he has this guy, his hand sort of pushing through. And it's on a yin and yang type of thing. And he's in the hand, there's a hand pushing through. And what he told me is he said, the problem with most of us is that we're trying so hard to be good, right? We're pushing so hard that we're off balance. And so that's where you start to neglect and you start to, a lot of things start to eat away from because you're trying so hard and nobody cares. It's like, well, why are you trying so hard? Like, why being yourself,
I need to read that book.
Is not actually usually hard, right? Not usually. Sometimes it does take some extreme courage, but I think that what we do, like that experience, I think I'm sure so many people relate to what you just said. I do, because you always kind of have to push further to understand, to have a, how do I know what's hot if I don't know what's cold? You have to push enough to where you understand where you belong, right? And so you went one way and it was too much. And you went the other way, and now, you've started to probably feel like you've getting some understanding. And you probably, I say, because I'm always kind of like, as soon as you feel like you've got it, you're like, oh crap, I don't know anything. But Yeah, no, I resonate with that a lot. So I'm sure a lot of other
I
people.
had a funny thought at the end of the podcast. It's like the camera zooms away and you stretch and you're in your 10,000 square foot mansion and beep, beep. Oh, the garage opens and you get in your brand new 2025 G-Wagon. And you like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Bro, Ryan Kettering.
We've gone through three camera feeds on my end. So yeah, I think we've.
It's great,
now
bro.
This isn't the G-Wagon side. This is like this is the ramen noodle side of the wall.
Bro, so go there, download the guide. It's free.
Yeah.
It really is awesome, bro. Thank you. Do you have any speaking engagements or anything coming up here, or anything you've done lately?
Nothing major. I'll be on the 7th at a group called Blue Collar Service. The Blue Collar Success Group in Arizona on the 7th. So you could check if anybody's in Arizona and they want to meet up. Blue Collar Success Group on the 7th of next week. Man, I'm horrible with my schedule. I'm sure I have other stuff, but I only keep track about a week out. So that's what I got. But yeah, we try to get on.
If you feel overly constricted by a schedule, do you not like that? Do you like more?
I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys want to learn an oddly lot about yourself, if you go to take a test on, this is not mine at all, go to 16personalities.com. Take a free test on 16personalities.com, and it's a Myers-Briggs test. I'm an ENTP. And if you want to learn a lot about yourself, do that. But here's the cool part is the reason why you learn a lot about yourself is just to validate. So you're like, holy crap, how does this know so much about me? Then you get a little bit smarter. You're like, wait a second, let me do it for my wife. Let me do it for my key people. And you're like, oh, now I understand them. And now I can, you know what I mean? So a lot of times we understand people's surface level stuff, but we don't get the motivations behind it. And so once we start to understand that some of the actions that they do and what those are in service to, we can much more appreciate something that if they're upset about something, they're frustrated. We're frustrated too. And I'm like, But then if we understand like why, then we can, take it a lot. We can work around with and around that much better, much more productive. But yeah, I don't like schedules. It's something that's structure. I'm really rough with structure. So I try to build once type of thing is what I found. Build a structure that I can't really break. I leverage and manipulate situations a lot more. Like, like if you're fat and you want to not be fat, you don't have to you don't have to do anything except for just start using small plates and just start using really small plates and don't do your own grocery shopping. Order from your computer when you've just eaten. And that's a system that you can't break and you'll start losing weight. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so you leverage, you don't have to stop eating. You just need to change your plate size. And then, so yeah, I try to just manipulate the surroundings a little bit. So, but I don't know what the question was about or for, but.
That's amazing. I lost like 15 pounds and I've kept it off I just stopped putting sugar in my coffee and I stopped eating, I was eating bread, so I stopped eating bread. If I do eat bread, it's very sparingly. And like if I eat Jimmy John's, I don't eat it that often. I don't get a bun. I just get it wrapped in lettuce. Mm-hmm. So by just eliminating like all the starch and sugar,
that's awesome. And it rolls into other stuff. Like
and instead of a pop, like never really drink a lot of pop. Anyways, pop has so much sugar. LaCroix, if you like pop, it doesn't have any like sugar in it. And there you go.
Yeah, I stopped drinking alcohol fully. I drink it's called hop water. But
what is that called?
It's called hop water.
Water.
HOP water. It's essentially carbonated. Imagine making tea, like black tea, but make it with hops, and then you cool it down, you carbonate it. And so I make it some of my own. This is store bought, but trading up your habits into the better ones. And it's a domino effect. I've stopped almost all the last one I stopped was biting my nails. And the crazy part, it was so many other things, but like it took me years. And by the time I was ready to do it, it was the easiest thing ever. and I couldn't do it for years, but I worked up to it. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't have to, if you're like having troubles with your weight, you don't have to go on and like do this big thing. You can cut the sugar out of your coffee. Like you can do a small thing, and that's what I was saying also with the workbook. Like you don't have to go, go crazy with this stuff. Just do like one little thing. Just get the little bit of a momentum going, that's all you got to do is pick one little thing that you're going to start doing to be more of yourself on a day-to-day basis. For some people, that might just be like meditating. Maybe don't do anything else. Stop doing something for 10 minutes, right? It's amazing how those habits like stack up like these dominoes.
A habit I have is I don't take any business calls. There's a couple people I would take a personal call before noon. I don't schedule any meetings, any of that stuff before noon. And I think I learned that from James Clear, Atomic Habits. And so the morning's there for me. So if you just jump up and dive right into social media and all the crap and emails, you go into this responsive mode. I mean, it hijacks your nervous system, and I can actually feel it on Sundays. I try to go as long as I can without looking at my phone. I can go all the way to like 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 p.m. without looking at my phone on Sundays. And if I go to even grab my phone, I'll feel a subtle shift and there will be like a dopamine drip. And I'll go into like a hypnosis, like, cause it's like a drug. And that feeling hijacks you and takes you out of an alpha state, which is like pure awareness. And it puts you into this thing to where now you've become hijacked and you can't operate at a very high level. So like on a Sunday, I'll get up and like, no phone coffee, and I'll get a big sketch pad and I'll sit there just zone out and start drawing graphs and diagrams and get the calculator out and start like my dreams and a page is full. And then, man.
That's awesome.
That's way off scale. Thank you so much for being on the Untrapped Podcast. This is going to be live on all podcast platforms, on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you go. Please leave the show a well-worded, positive 5-star review. If you like the show, it helps it boost it in the algorithms. If you're watching this live, thank you for so much. I'm talking too fast. Thank you very much. And then we just crossed 850,000 downloads on the podcast, so we're going to 1 million soon. And Ryan Kettering from Prolific Brand Design, I appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Keith. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, and go to getprolific.com and download his guide.
All right, see you guys.
Peace, everybody.
Hey, I hope you liked the show. And if you like the Untrapped podcast and you get value from it, can you please take a minute and go over to Spotify and leave it a well-worded, positive 5-star review? It helps boost the rankings on Spotify so the show can get to more people. Therefore, these messages can get out to more people and inspire more people so then they can go out and start their small businesses and crush it and get to the next level. It's a huge deal. All right, I'll see you in the next show.